a record-setting speech from Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking against Donald Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill, which is really a big, ugly, dangerous bill. Jeffries broke the record set in 2021 by then Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, which was 8 hours and 32 minutes. He spoke today for 8 hours, 44 minutes, and 25 seconds. Here is some of what he had to say.
But the aspirational part of the Declaration of Independence, of course, that is often famously quoted. But then if you read other parts of the Declaration of Independence, extraordinarily written document, it reads like an indictment against the extremism of the king. It reads like an indictment against the kings. I think of King George. It reads like an indictment against King George's flood the zone strategy. It reads like an indictment against King George's shock and awe strategy. It reads like an indictment against what I think may have been called Project 1775, which is what brought us to Project 1776. And you look at this indictment, and one of the things it alludes to, it talks about, is the notion of the king's effort to stop the assimilation of people from other parts of the world into the United States of America. So we understand that from the very beginning of this great country, there was a recognition, of course, of the importance of immigration to the success and vitality of the United States of America. And let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, so there's no misrepresentation. As House Democrats, we understand the importance, the urgency of securing the border. We believe that our immigration system is broken and that it should be fixed in a comprehensive and bipartisan way. So many leaders in that effort, so many big ideas were willing to partner in a bipartisan way. Pramila Jayapal, Linda Sanchez, Adriano Espaillat, Tom Suozzi, so many others. Veronica Escobar, we want to partner to fix our broken immigration system in a bipartisan and comprehensive way, secure our border. But we're also going to make sure we stand up for our nation's heritage, a nation of immigrants, which continues to this very day. It's an important part of American exceptionalism, and as far as I can tell, in my reading of the original document, the writings of the founders of this great country, the framers of the Constitution, they recognized it from the very beginning. They weren't perfect. We didn't have a perfect start. But of course, as the preamble to the United States Constitution set forth, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Mr. Speaker, we've been set on this magical course, our march toward a more perfect union. And the immigration journey has always been an important part of the American journey. That's why it's heartbreaking to see some of the things that are happening in the country right now. The targeting in such an extraordinary way of law-abiding immigrant families, including American citizens. How can this be in the United States of America? Some people who might suggest that we should stay away from these stories. No, I'm going to lean into this part of the American journey because we support our heritage as a nation of immigrants. And we're going to stand up for dreamers, stand up for farm workers, stand up for law-abiding immigrant families all across this country. U.S. citizen children have been deported, Mr. Speaker. Is this who we've become in the United States of America? How can this be? This is extraordinary. 2-year-old American named Manu Borges Santos was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in September of 2022. In February, she was taken into custody in Florida alongside her mother and father, both of whom were undocumented. And as a result of this situation, we're fed up with Project 1775. And so they implemented Project 1776. So I know that there are people concerned with what's happening in America, but understand what our journey teaches us is that after Project 2025 comes Project 2026. And you will have an opportunity to end this national nightmare as part of Project 2026. I love the framers. They gave us a blueprint for what should give us hope in this moment.
That's right.
I think that I want to close by referencing
Take your sweet time.
someone who we all serve with. I want to stand on the shoulders, if it's okay, on some of our civil rights heroes and foot soldiers.
Yes, yes.
Those whose character, whose conviction, whose courage should give the American people hope at a moment of great despair. Many of us had the great honor of serving with Congressman John Lewis. The great honor, Mr. Speaker, to serve with Congressman John Lewis.
That's right.
And I came across something that John Lewis said in June of 2028, that hopefully, no matter what the outcome of this vote, will give people some hope. Great John Lewis said, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day,
Not one day.
a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. That's our struggle. No matter what, Mr. Speaker, you decide to do today, that's our struggle. Standing on the shoulders of John Lewis, that's our struggle. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get into good trouble. Good trouble. Good trouble. Necessary trouble. Standing on the shoulders of giants. John Lewis would often talk to us about his admiration for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King, who would refer to John Lewis as the boy from Troy.
The boy from Troy.
Now, what's interesting to me, that civil rights movement, we can learn a lot from it. Started December of 1955. And Rosa Parks sat down on that bus so that all of us could have the courage to stand up.
That's right.
Wasn't an easy struggle. All the odds were stacked against these civil rights heroes and foot soldiers. And during the early days of the movement, a difficult part of the movement, Dr. King, after they've been targeted, arrested, beaten, harassed by the authorities, he traveled to Brooklyn, New York.
Yes. Brooklyn.
And spoke at the Concord Baptist Church. I think it was in March of 1956. And he said to a group of people of every race, every religion, every life experience, the Concord Baptist Church in Bedford-Stuyvesant, said to them, no matter what the odds, we've got to press on.
Press on. Press on.
Press on. Dr. King said that if you can't fly, run.
That's right.
If you can't run, walk.
That's right.
If you can't walk, crawl. But at all times, press on.
Press on. Press on.
And keep pressing.
Press on.
And so as I take my seat, I just want to say to the American people that no matter what the outcome is on this singular day,
Fight forward.
we're going to press on. We're going to press on. We're going to press on. We're going to press on for our children, press on for our seniors, press on for our veterans, press on for our unions, press on for our farmers, press on for our dreamers, press on for working class Americans, press on for the middle class, press on for all who aspire to be part of the middle class, press on for the poor, press on for the sick, press on for the afflicted, press on for the least, press on for the lost, press on for the left behind, press on for the rule of law, press on for the American way of life, press on for democracy. We're going to press on until victory is won. I yield back.
John would have been proud. Hakeem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did he do it?
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
So let me unpack what happened. Jeffries did not tell his Democratic caucus that this is what he was going to do. And that was a very smart thing. You had some Democrats who were bitching and moaning saying, well, he could have given us a heads up and where we would have booked multiple flights and, you know, that would have been nice. Well, no, because those idiots would have leaked it. Okay? So let me explain to you why this speech was so important. And I see all these people. I see all these old, really smart people. Folks all on social media. That was a waste of time. He was just up there. I mean, oh my God, he's horrible. He's not shown any leadership. All that. All of that talking, all of that whining, all of that, all that. The reason they're wrong is that if you listen to this speech, and I listened to most of it, what he did was he literally laid out the Democrats' agenda to retake the House. You heard him say you had Project 2025, well, next year there will be Project 2026. Y'all, that literally is the name, or what that's the name that Democrats should adopt as their battle plan for next year. So first of all, you call it Project 2026 because the project is to retake the House in 2026. If you listen to the speech, he spent lots of time talking about health care, talking about food, talking about housing. Hello, that's the agenda. In fact, I saw a tweet, and there was a Republican who somebody posted that this bill does this for food, does this for education, and does something else. And this Republican goes, yes, exclamation point. So that Republican is cheering all of those things that this bill has done. You take David Valadao of California, Republican. 64% of his district relies on Medicaid. Whoever is running against him, that's all you run on. And you go after that 64%. See, I don't know what people want. I saw one woman, she sat here and she was talking about, oh my God, this has been awful. It's this, it's that. They have a trifecta, y'all. Republicans did not need any Democrat votes in the House to pass the bill. They didn't get any. They used the reconciliation process in the Senate, which only required a simple majority and not 60 votes. Didn't need Dems. And obviously, Trump sitting in the White House. So for all these people who kept going, Democrats should have fought harder. Can you please tell me what in the hell? And I love when all these people say this. I would really love to tell me what meme, what graphic, what statement Jeffries or any of them could have posted or stated that was going to stop this bill from happening. See, a lot of the people who are complaining, a lot of the people who are so upset, a lot of those folk were the ones who were bitching last year and who were not focused on turning people out. One of the reasons that Vice President Kamala Harris lost is because Democrats didn't turn out. You had all these disaffected Democrats over the issue of Gaza. You had young folks who were upset by that. You had folks who said that Biden was too old. You had folks who said, oh, we shouldn't have had Harris. Oh, we should be focusing on transgender. We should be focusing on GEI. And you had Democrats who were just, oh my God, it's awful. Things are bad. Where's this? Where's that? Where's this? Yet Republicans got in line. How did Republicans pass this bill? How did they go from losing 217 to 207, holding the vote open, and then converting the holdouts? It's because they fell in line. Because they said, you can't get everything that you want, but we're going to get this bill right now. See, I keep saying Democrats have a history of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So right now, again, if you listen to what Jeffries said, House Democrats should be absolutely focused and fixated Project 2026. Pull up the graphic. The DCCC, I showed this the other day on the show. They sat here and they showed the 35 districts in play. That means right now, what Democrats should be doing, they should have the data, and they also do. They should have the data of every single one of those districts and how many people in those districts depend on Medicaid. What they should be having is how many people in those districts depend on SNAP benefits. What they should be doing is breaking down every single time a hospital in one of those districts closes down, the Democrats should be holding a news conference in front of that hospital. Every time a nursing home in those districts shuts down, they should be holding news conference in front. Person says in the chat, I disagree, you don't adopt your opponent's slogan. You're not adopting this slogan. What you're doing is you're offering a counter to your opponents. Y'all pull the graphic up. We have a shirt that says, y'all see my shirt. No, not that graphic. My shirt says, don't blame me if it's a black woman. We have a shirt that we're selling, and it says, FAFO 2025 project crossed out. Because that's exactly what is about to happen. What is about to happen right now is that rural America is about to be decimated. You know who that is? White people. Conservative white people. Decimated. It's about to happen. See, people, y'all, this is very simple. All the Democrats have to do is win 5 seats. 5. Pull that list up again. One of those folks on that graphic is Don Bacon. Don Bacon announced he's retiring. Don Bacon represents Omaha, Nebraska. He represents the district where that hospital announced today they were shutting its doors because of what happened today with Medicaid. See, I think the problem with some really smart Democrats is that Sometimes they too damn smart. Sometimes they trying to make this thing so, oh my God, and oh my God, I hate, oh this, and we ain't doing this, and when we ain't doing that, and we should be doing this, and oh no, he's this, and Jeffries, no, he should be doing this here. Then you ask him, well, what specifically? Well, I don't really know. I can't really tell you that, 'cause that's really not my job. What the hell are you talking about then? Folks, I'm telling you, national Democrats, and I'm saying this for a reason, this is where national Democrats should be. Everything is 2026. Everything is 2026. Yes, you're going to defend your districts, but there are 35 vulnerable Democrats. All you need are 5. You win 5 out of the 35, you control the House. Republicans know it. Donald Trump is going to try to get everything he could get passed between now and November 2026, because he knows what's coming. And I'm telling you, folk need to stop sitting here and complaining. Oh my God, I'm going to tell y'all something right now. You can bring back from the dead Sam Rayburn. You can bring back Tom Foley. You can bring back Skip O'Neill. You can bring Nancy Pelosi back. There's nothing that Nancy Pelosi could have done to stop this bill, because they don't have the power. The only way you stop Trump and MAGA Republicans is if you seize power. And national Democrats had better be locked and loaded on 2026. Virginia Democrats had better be locked and loaded on maintaining the House in November, maintaining the Senate in November, and taking the governor's mansion, and taking out that black MAGA Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears. That means Spanberger had better stop running this middle-of-the-road milquetoast campaign, and she better be talking and speaking to and energizing black voters who make up 20% of the state. You cannot stop someone from doing something, and you cannot advance your agenda if you do not have the power. Go to my panel. I want to go to you first, Greg. If people actually stop getting so caught up in theatrics and, oh, the person didn't move me, I wasn't excited. He really laid out what Democrats stand for and how to counter Republicans. Your thoughts?
Well, brother, with all due respect to Leader Jeffries, in the words of Malcolm X, you're speaking a language they don't understand. I thought that it was as strong a speech as I've heard Hakeem Jeffries give. I think that if we lived in a nation, it would be the opening salvo of a project that could possibly work. But we don't live in a nation. We live in a country with a lot of different nations in it. You've got a president of the United States who is mentally ill, who is a racist, who called the winner of the New York Democratic primary in New York for mayor a communist, radical, threatening to deport him. And Leader Jeffries, understanding that his position is to keep the Democratic Party together, defended Mamdani, but stopped short of endorsing him. I wasn't moved by the speech. And it's not necessary for me to be moved by the speech, because I know that in order to advance, we don't have to be moved by rhetoric. I'm going to support whatever and whoever is going to advance the interests of our common humanity. But I can't help in this moment but think about Dr. King, not in the immediate wake of the Montgomery bus boycott, where Leader Jeffries spoke to in 1956, but in 1968. Dr. King understood very well where we live and what we had to do. And what we have done in this country, in terms of electoral politics, what we have done is tack toward that middle you're talking about, Roland. And the results have been a diminishing return in terms of black political power since its peak in the 1970s. I think there are probably more than a handful of people listening today and who are watching today, and I know you remember the battle between Julian Bond and John Lewis for that congressional seat coming out of Georgia. See, white nationalists were terrified. Brutal, and they were terrified of Julian Bond. John Lewis, not so much. See, the idea that you can appeal to the humanity of a white supremacist, I understand you got to refer to the founding fathers and you got to refer to those criminals, those fleeing felons that had your ancestors captive. I understand. You got to say what you got to say. But I'll end with this. I hope what you said is in fact what the Democratic leadership will do. I hope that they will overwhelm these white supremacists. I hope they will not leave the Congressional Progressive Caucus out on a limb. I hope that they will show the same energy they used to every time somebody showed up that wanted to fight with both fists, whether it be Cori Bush and now Wesley Bell is in the damn legislature, whether it be Nina Turner and now Shontel Brown is in. I hope they show that same energy when it's time to fight these white supremacists and punch them in the face. Social media, I saw one of these young people call Leader Jeffries APAC Shakur. Listen, let's be crystal clear now. You got to fight these people. So that same energy that was in that speech, we need to now see it in dollars. We need to see it in organization. And you need to see that in solidarity with people who you might not agree with on everything, but you cannot now turn around and try to walk that middle of the road, because if they take the House and take it by 1 vote or 2 votes, those quote-unquote conservative Democrats or soft white nationalists who will then caucus with the Republicans or at least cast their vote with the Republicans, that's when you know that the middle, as Dr. King said, that lukewarm thing, the worst enemy we got, the white liberal, when we read Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, comes out to play. This can be a turning point. Let me just stop, because I'm not going to say whether I trust it or not, because we got to do the right thing either way, but shouting good trouble and nah, man, you speaking a language they don't understand, brother.
The thing here, Eugene, when I talk about in terms of how do you move forward, the thing here which is critical is that for all of these Democrats who are mealy-mouthed, whining, complaining about Mamdani, they're idiots. Because what they're not doing is they're not asking the right question. And the right question to ask is, how did he win? How
Teach. Come on now.
Speak? They're not asking. How did he run a smart, sophisticated, targeted campaign that spoke to the present day needs of the voters, that studied those who sat out previous elections, that activated them, that piqued their interest, and that turned out. That's why all the Bill Ackmans of the world, they can all be praising Eric Adams and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm telling you right now, I don't think there's no doubt. I think he wins the general election. Yep. Because what the people, what progressives, what Democrats, what people who lean Democrat, what people want is they want to see somebody who is speaking into them in a way that is addressing their real life issues, who is not talking to them from 30,000 feet, but who is doing what Joe Madison said, you got to put it where the ghost can get it.
And look, I hope Democrats finally do learn a lesson, right? Because they had the opportunity when AOC beat Carly and when she got elected, right? And this New York election is a much broader demo, much broader landmass. But it's one more time another catalyst. Last week we had a discussion, after your interview with Jasmine Crockett, about how them leadership should be using their assets like a Jasmine Crockett or a Maxwell Frost, right? But most importantly, going back to Speaker soon to be eventual Speaker Jeffries' speech earlier today, what he was meticulous to do is he called out every single targeted swing seat that could be easily won by and shifted by a couple points. When he called out Mulatto, when he called out Lawler. I mean, some folk even, there's typically an unspoken rule within a delegation that you don't attack within your own delegation. But he understands that, hey, 3 of those 5 swing seats can come straight out of New York, right? And so he called out his own delegation members, put the targets on their backs. He laid out an agenda. I do think that part of what needs to happen, especially with the outside groups, is that the conversation that has to take place is, hey, look, people sat out this last election, and when people were saying, hey, give me power so that I can help you, you didn't, and now you're looking at these people to help you. You can't make that same mistake in 2026. You can't look at Hakeem Jeffries or Dem leadership in the House or the Senate and say, oh, do X, Y, Z to stop this. Well, the math is really simple in both of these chambers, and the rules are even simpler. It's majority rule. Majority rule, minority rights, right? That's political science 101, every single class. Comparative politics, political science, poli-sci. Any 101 class, the first thing you learn about American government is that it's majority rule and majority rule, minority rights. But it's still majority rule. And what people have to understand is that you have to give the people that are looking out for your interests power to look out for your interests. You can't come to them 6 months, 8 months, a year later and say, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. Well, hey, because of the way the system's structured, I don't have power to do anything. So, today, Leader Jeffries, laid out on the House floor a House Dem agenda. He called out, members of that represented, constituencies, which effectively is, hey, the Dem leader reached out his hand to these constituencies, saying, listen, if the people that you voted for,
Right.
you elected, are going to give away everything and not protect you, then give us the opportunity to actually work with you. And look, I think you're going to see a wave.
No.
You're going to see a 2010, 2018 wave election in 2026.
Nola, one of the things that Bishop William Barber does that I think is brilliant is that when they have their rallies, they do not allow politicians to speak. They let impacted people speak. You heard Jeffries read letters from individuals in those Republican districts talk about Medicaid, education, people with disabilities. What I'm speaking to right now, Nola, are those white Democratic strategists who keep running bullshit campaigns that don't resonate. What you do right now, you are collecting and you are amplifying impacted people in every single one of those 35 districts, and you use them like a battering ram against the Republicans to take them out in 2026. Your comments?
What I heard in that speech is 3 words keep resonating with me. We the people, we the people, we the people. That's what leapt out to me. I thought that this rhetorical device was used strategically as part of the Congressional Senate and Hill Content Creators Program. I have access to congressional members, so I've been a part of this fight pretty much since the beginning. I've been on the Hill at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, talking to people who are outside on the steps in the rain, and then also go inside and talk to members. And one of the things that everyone was saying, but had a hard time trying to figure out how to say it, was, we are here for the people. And that is what I heard in Jeffries, Leader Jeffries. People keep manifesting that. That's what I heard in his 9 hours. For me, it wasn't necessarily about, him being this generation's orator. I saw it as strategic. And one of the ways in which I saw it as strategic was he brought this bill into the daylight. And this is where I think the Dems were very successful. People are talking about this bill in a way that they would not have been talking about it if the pressure was not on, if multiple knees were not on multiple necks. And to your point, Roland, just last night, I was in historic Black Chat's liquor store last night. They had a whiskey tasting, and it was a smattering of Americans. And there was this young white male who was a Democrat from Alabama. He said, I am uneducated and I have been a blue collar worker my entire life. And he said, I get really annoyed because the Democratic Party feels so elite that I am not a part of the party, but I've always been a Democrat. My wife's a Democrat. We moved to DC so she could work here, and I picked up my life to support her dream because that's how much I believe in this. So we, the people, needs to mean exactly that. You have to keep reminding people. You have to also bring Southerners into this conversation, and not just 5 minutes before a national election. They need to be part of this conversation. They need to be engaged in a way that has not happened in a very long time. People need to understand what's at stake in this bill. And let me tell you something about Southerners. One thing they understand is their health. One thing they understand are their doctor's appointments. Like, most of their days are actually spent around their doctor's appointments. So this is an issue that resonates with people. This is why people are talking about this bill. So while the Republicans won this for Donald Trump, they did not win for the people. And to your point, Roland, that's what Democrats have to keep reminding people of. They won this for Trump, not for them. We the people, we the people, we the people.
Here's a perfect example of what I just think is dumb. Progressive Emma, where is it? It was just dumb. And this is what just drives me crazy. Hold up, let me find it right here, because I can't believe she posted this. Emma Vigeland, she goes, it would have been great. She goes, maybe if Democrats spent weeks leading a mobilization effort against the bill, a national strategy with rallies in key districts, instead of having meltdowns about Zoran, I'd be a bit more enthusiastic about Jeffries' grand plan to delay the vote until the afternoon. What was stupid is they did that. One of the reasons this bill was so unpopular in the polls is because Democrats literally were holding town halls in Republican districts. See, this is the stupid stuff that drives me crazy with progressives who act like stuff isn't happening, okay, who go, oh, okay, they gave a long speech this afternoon.
The thing is this, right? I'll jump in here as
what pisses... Eugene, go ahead.
Oh, no. The thing is this: what progressives have to understand is what conservatives also had to learn, right? And then actually finally switched up their playbook for the Obamacare saga. Everything, you're not going to stop the bill, right? But what you do is you use the moment to build for the party and the power that you want come next cycle. In 2010, Republicans were in a much worse position than Democrats are right now. And they rallied and lined people up and had people, flood Congress during the passage of Obamacare. The bill was going to get passed, but you used the moment to build to what you want. Speaker Jeffries actually used a tool, right? And it's actually unique literally to just the leader of the party. Only the leader gets unlimited talking and speaking time. So essentially used the only version of a House filibuster to maximize the moment. And these progressives who probably have never given to a candidate, who's probably never knocked on a door, who's probably never run for office themselves, probably isn't
Don't do that,
involved in their
Eugene.
local,
Don't do that.
Democrat
Don't do that.
apparatus in one way, shape, or form, but can get on Twitter or
Don't do
Facebook.
that.
No,
Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Don't do that.
Greg, go ahead.
Okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. Let's be very clear. You know, this is not... We need to stop acting as if we are in a high school civics classroom. These are white supremacists. When you see Mike Johnson, when you see Steve Scalise, and they behind the desk doing a little dance a couple of hours ago. Steve Scalise was protected by a black woman and black law enforcement when somebody tried to take his life, and that punk-ass racist continues to be a white supremacist. This isn't a two sides thing. Yeah, I agree with you. I got a lot of friends who are ultra-radical. They like, listen, are they both parties the same duopoly? I'm constantly enrolling those. You've been beating that back as well. But this is something else. Yes, Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders have been out there, and then, you know, you've got Eric Swalwell go out, and now they're starting to do that. But the Democrats are timid. Let me be very clear about this. This isn't Democrats versus Republicans. This is white supremacists and billionaires versus everybody. If you're not going to do that, what you said before, and Roland said as well, is very important. How did Mamdani organize? He spoke to issues. He was sharp. He was fast. He knows what he's doing. He's 33 years old. He's making these great videos. He's going to get an egg and cheese in the bodega, and he's tying it to taxes and billionaires getting breaks. And he's saying, you know, we got to free these buses. We're going to have some community, some city-owned grocery stores. And guess what? He wins after all those people, including all those Negro politicians in New York City, elected officials that lined up behind a man who should never have office again, Andrew Cuomo, like they were saluting the flag. I'm looking at Greg Meeks over the shoulder of Hakeem Jeffries sitting there. And when Cuomo lost, Bill Ackman and all them racists went and pulled Eric Adams out the grave and said, stand up and salute. And you know what the Democrats have done? Not a damn thing. So here's the thing. You're not going to compromise with a white supremacist. And beating up the progressives is a recipe for a loss for the Democratic Party in 2026. Put that in the book, brother.
All I'm saying is very simple. And that is the reason Jeffrey's speech today was important is because you've got to have something that you begin to galvanize people around. You couldn't just say, oh, well, like I'm telling you, I'm just sick of these progressives who think that, oh, they could have somehow stopped this. The question now is, if you despise this bill, what are you going to do now? I am quite sure that there were numerous times Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy and Septima Clark and Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm quite sure there were numerous times. James Farmer. I'm quite sure there were numerous times. A. Philip Randolph, where they were just frustrated, and they was like, I feel like I'm speaking into the wind. But the reason they kept speaking, the reason they kept protesting, is because they understood it's the constant churn, and it's the awakening of people. And what's going to happen when this bill gets signed? The cuts begin to happen, and people begin to cry. They begin to cry first, then they begin to cry out, and then when they cry out, they then are looking for some place to go. They're looking for some place to join. They're looking for some place to tap into, and so the responsibility of Democrats, of progressives, of civil rights groups, and nonpartisan groups is to be able to say, we have created the place for you to come. We have a place for you to join. We have a place for you to sign up. We want you to engage in this. That is the point of it. But it is ludicrous to sit here and go, oh my God, he just spoke so long. It was a long speech. It did nothing. Everybody knew his speech was not going to somehow cause Republicans to go, oh my God, a lightning bolt has hit me. The Lord is speaking to my spirit, and therefore I'm going to change my vote. No, they knew the Lord that they serve, the little G God they serve, is Donald Trump. But the whole point there is if I could give somebody a sliver of hope, give somebody a sense that we hear you and we understand you, then we can go from there. But see, here's the challenge now. The challenge now for Leader Jeffries, the challenge now for DNC Chair Ken Martin, the chair now for Chuck Schumer, the chair now for the PACs and consultants and the candidates and the activists. The challenge for them now is, what are you going to do after July 3rd? What are you going to do after the bill is signed July 4th? What are you going to do on July 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th and 13th and 14th and on and on and on? That's really what the challenge is. And so when you have people who are in a position, who are ready to take action, that now means that if you're Jeffries, you're going out and you're recruiting candidates in every single race. That means that you're sitting here crafting a message. That means that you are stopping and bitching and moaning about Mamdani and studying his campaign and studying his commercials and studying his strategy and looking at how they did it. Because what you're going to have to do in that district where they have 64% on Medicaid, you're going to have to go get those folks because they don't vote. You're going to have to not go out and try to convince some Republicans to vote for you. I'm sick and tired of hearing Democrats say, we're going to have to, yes, and Yank Huber and others, we have to listen to them. No, we don't. We don't have to listen to them. We don't have to talk to them. What you have to do is activate the 90 million folk who don't vote. You have got to be able to reach them in a certain way. And that, folks, is how you win. And I guarantee you, y'all can write it down right now at 7:11 p.m. Eastern on July 3rd, 2025, that if Democrats have the courage to sit amongst the people and not talk to the people, not preach to the people, but listen to the people and engage the people and then activate the people, then you are going to see a blue wave sweep across this country come November 2026. And then they'll be able to say it all began with an 8-hour and 44-minute and 25-second speech on July 3rd that exposed this nasty, ugly, dangerous bill for the whole nation to see and did not allow it to be passed in the middle of the night. But the question is, for folk watching, for folk who are tweeting, for the folk who are posting, for the folk who are complaining, the question that you now have to answer, I go back to that movie, The Untouchables, when they're in the balcony, church balcony.
Yeah.
And you got Kevin Costner.
That's right.
He's sitting here across from Sean Connery. And Connery said, what are you prepared to do, Elliot Ness? Well, I'm prepared to do whatever I need to do under the law. He said, then what are you prepared to do?
Then.
He said, when they come at you with a knife, you come at them with a gun. One of them put your people in the hospital, you put one of them in the morgue. He said, that is the Chicago way. And that is how you do it. But he said, what the question is, Mr. Ness, what are you prepared to do? And that is the question that I have for the more than 5,000 of y'all watching right now, for the folks who are listening. If you want to see something change, I don't need you. You can't vote today. What you can do right now is go out and inform and educate and enlighten. Tell folk to watch this show. Tell people what needs to happen. And we need to be sitting here letting them know what's going on and what happens and what closes and what gets shut down and who gets affected. And we're going to be telling these stories. And then when the time comes to pull that trigger at the ballot box, we rain holy hell on these evil, despicable people, vote them out of office, and then we say after 2026, J.D. Vance and everyone else, we coming after you in 2028, and you sit here and run over them like a locomotive train. But that cannot happen if folk sit on the sidelines and whine and complain.
That's right.
Hello. I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.